Lena wiped the sweat from her forehead as she lifted her daughter Maya onto her hip. The neon lights of the city reflected off the wet streets, painting everything in shades of blue and red. Lena had just finished her late shift at the diner, her small paycheck barely enough to cover the rent, food, and Maya's school supplies. The megacity seemed alive with people rushing, lights flickering, and vehicles zooming above on floating highways. Yet despite the crowd, Lena often felt invisible, like she and Maya were shadows in a world that cared little for them. As she walked home, she tried to ignore the distant sounds of shouting and the occasional explosion of fireworks or illegal energy blasts. But tonight was different. Lena's path led through the industrial district, a place she usually avoided after dark. The air smelled of burnt metal and oil, and the silence was broken by the occasional clanging of a falling pipe. Suddenly, Lena heard raised voices, angry, threatening voices. She froze, pressing Maya against her chest. Peering around a corner, she saw a group of masked men surrounding someone. Fear shot through her chest. "Oh no, not again," she whispered. Stories of people disappearing in this district had been all over the news. Lena considered turning back, but her apartment was just on the other side of the block. She had no choice but to move slowly, hoping not to attract attention. Just as she tried to tiptoe away, one of the masked men spotted her. "Hey, you! Come here!" he yelled. Panic rose like fire in Lena's veins. She clutched Maya tighter and turned to run, but another man blocked her path. Then, like a shadow emerging from the darkness, a figure appeared. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a calm presence that made the aggressors hesitate. His black coat moved slightly in the wind as he stepped forward. Lena could barely believe her eyes. This was Dante, the infamous Mafia boss of the city, the man who controlled the underworld with precision and power. Stories painted him as cruel, but Lena saw only focus and quiet authority. "Step aside," Dante said, his voice low but commanding. The masked men glanced at each other nervously. One took a step forward, but Dante's cold eyes fixed on him. In a blink, Dante disarmed him with a move so quick it seemed unreal. The others scrambled, retreating into the shadows. Within moments, the street was empty again except for Lena, Maya, and Dante. Lena's heart was still racing. Thank you," she stammered. Dante's eyes softened slightly as he looked at her. "You're safe now," he said, kneeling slightly so he was closer to her height. "Look at me, you're not alone," Lena blinked. The words were simple, but they carried a weight she hadn't felt in years. For so long it had just been her and Maya, struggling, surviving, always on edge. To hear someone, even a dangerous man like Dante, say she wasn't alone made her stomach twist with confusion and hope. I don't know what to say," Lena whispered, unsure if she should be grateful or afraid. "Say nothing," Dante replied calmly. "Just come with me. You and the girl need protection tonight." Lena hesitated. This was dangerous. She didn't know Dante, and though he saved them, he was a man known to rule the city's underworld. Yet looking down at Maya, she realized she had no choice. They had been living hand to mouth, and the industrial district was no place for anyone after dark, least of all a child. With a small nod, Lena followed Dante. They moved quickly through hidden alleyways and side streets. Dante never spoke unnecessarily, but his presence was reassuring. Every so often he glanced at Lena and Maya, making sure they were following and safe. They arrived at a small, secure apartment that Dante had arranged. Inside it was clean, surprisingly warm and free from the grime of the outside city. Maya's eyes widened in wonder. "Mommy, is this our new home?" she asked softly. Lena hugged her daughter. "Not permanent, sweetheart. Just for tonight." Dante gave a small nod. "It will be safe. That's all that matters for now." Over a modest dinner, Lena tried to understand the man sitting across from her. He didn't boast about power or wealth. He didn't make threats. He simply spoke with clarity and purpose. Lena learned a little about Dante's life, the choices he had made, the battles he had fought, and the system he controlled. Even in a world of crime, Dante had rules. He didn't harm the innocent. He protected those who could not protect themselves. "You've done well to survive this long," Dante said gently, his gaze landing on Lena. "Not everyone with courage makes it here. You're clever, strong, and you love your daughter fiercely. That matters." Lena felt heat rise to her cheeks. She had never been praised for her strength. People usually told her she was too weak or too naive. Dante's words felt strange but comforting. "I just do what I must," Lena replied. "I only want Maya to be safe." Dante leaned back. "And she will be. With me." The next few hours passed in an unusual quiet. Maya slept on the couch, exhausted from the day, while Lena sat across from Dante, her mind racing with questions. Could she trust him? Was this man truly a protector? Or was he simply another dangerous figure in her city? Dante noticed her concern. I know you are wary, he said. And you should be. But trust is a choice. Not everyone deserves it. You and your daughter do, though. That is why I am here. Lena studied him, searching for any sign of deception. All she saw was a man who had survived in a world where survival often meant betrayal. There was power in him, yes, but also something else, a quiet honor that was rare. By the time dawn approached, Lena realized she had made a decision. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew one thing. For the first time in years, she wasn't alone. And that thought filled her with cautious hope. Before leaving the room, Dante knelt again. Rest now, he said. Tomorrow we begin making life better for you both. No more running, no more fear. You're under my protection? Lena nodded. She could feel the weight of his words settling in her chest. Somehow, in this chaotic city filled with danger, she had found an unexpected ally, one who promised more than safety. As Dante left to handle his city affairs, Lena watched him go, her mind swirling with questions about this mysterious man who had entered their lives so suddenly. Could a Mafia boss truly be a protector? Could she trust him enough to let him into their world? Maya stirred, rubbing her eyes. Lena lifted her gently, holding her close. We might have a chance, Maya, she whispered. A real chance at a safe life. Outside, the city roared on, indifferent to the small apartment that now held Lena, Maya, and a secret hope. Lena didn't know what challenges tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years she felt a spark of courage. She would face the future together with Dante's help, and perhaps one day find a place in a world that had always been cruel. The night had been terrifying, yes, but it had also been transformative. The woman who had spent years feeling invisible had finally met someone who saw her and cared. And that simple recognition would be the beginning of a journey that would change everything for Lena, Maya, and Dante alike. The morning sun spilled through the small windows of the apartment, painting warm stripes across the floor. Lena stirred awake, careful not to wake Maya, who was curled up under a soft blanket. The night had been the first night in years she had felt a sense of safety, and for a moment she let herself enjoy it. But reality soon returned. Life in the city was still dangerous, and she couldn't rely on a single night of peace. A quiet knock at the door startled her. Before she could respond, Dante entered, calm as ever, with a small breakfast tray in his hands. Good morning, he said. I brought something to start your day. Lena blinked, unsure if this was real. Dante rarely came to places outside his own controlled spaces, yet here he was, offering a simple gesture of care. Thank you, she said softly, accepting the tray. Dante glanced at Maya, who had just woken up, and rubbed her sleepy eyes. Good morning, little one, he said, his tone unusually gentle. Maya's small hand reached out, and Dante allowed her to touch it. Lena watched, feeling something she hadn't in a long time, a mixture of relief and curiosity. This man, who commanded fear across the city, could also show tenderness. After breakfast, Dante explained that today would be about preparing Lena for the world she was stepping into. I know you've lived carefully, he said, but the city doesn't forgive mistakes. You need to understand it to protect yourself and your daughter. Lena listened carefully, determined. She wanted to protect Maya, yes, but she also wanted to understand the man who had changed their lives in a single night. Dante guided her through the city, showing hidden routes, safe houses, and warning signs that only someone who controlled the underworld would know. Lena absorbed everything. Her mind worked fast, learning, memorizing, and practicing. Later, Dante led Lena to a busy district, where his associates were negotiating delicate matters. Lena watched as Dante handled conflict with calm authority, speaking once or twice to resolve tense situations that could have easily erupted into violence. She realized he had power, yes, but it wasn't just fear that made people follow him. It was respect, skill, and an understanding of human nature. You see, Dante said quietly, noticing her attention. Power without understanding is useless. People follow strength, but they stay for wisdom. Lena nodded, absorbing every word. For the first time, she understood that Dante's world, though dangerous, could be navigated with intelligence and courage, and perhaps she thought she could belong in it, not as a criminal, but as someone who could stand strong, protect her child, and make choices for her own life. As the day turned to evening, a sudden emergency arose. A rival gang had tried to ambush one of Dante's operations. The city's air crackled with tension. Lena and Dante rushed to the scene. Dante moved quickly, giving precise commands, while Lena instinctively stayed close to Maya, ensuring her daughter was hidden but safe. The rival gang arrived, armed and aggressive, but Dante's planning had anticipated the move. Lena watched as he coordinated his team, his eyes sharp and focused. She felt a surge of admiration and surprisingly courage. When one of the attackers attempted to approach her hiding spot, Lena acted without thinking. She grabbed a nearby security drone and used it to block the intruder, giving Dante's team the time they needed to regain control. Dante saw her in action. His dark eyes widened slightly and he allowed a small smile. Lena had surprised him. Not many civilians would act so decisively under pressure. Not many had courage like hers. After the situation was under control, the rival gang retreated. The street was quiet again except for Lena, Maya, and Dante standing amid the aftermath. Lena was breathless, adrenaline still coursing through her. Dante stepped closer, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. "You were incredible," he said quietly. "You didn't just protect yourself and your daughter, you protected us all." Lena felt heat rise to her cheeks. She had acted instinctively, yes, but to hear Dante praise her courage made her heart flutter. She looked at him, seeing something in his expression that she hadn't seen before. A deep respect. Almost admiration. "You make me wonder," Dante continued, "why someone like you has been surviving alone for so long. You're stronger than most people I know." The words settled in her chest like a warm light. Lena had always felt invisible, underestimated, and overlooked. Yet here was a man who saw her, truly saw her, and more than that, he trusted her. Later that night, they returned to the apartment. Dante called a small meeting with his most trusted associates. Lena wasn't sure why she was included, but she stayed quietly observing. After discussing strategies and city operations, Dante's gaze found Lena's. "Lena," he said calmly, "you've earned more than safety. You've earned a place here." Lena blinked. "A place? What do you mean?" Dante took a step forward, his presence commanding yet warm. "I mean, that from this moment you are not just under my protection. You are part of my life, part of my world, and I want you to be my wife." Lena froze. The words were simple but heavy. She looked at Dante, unsure whether he was joking, yet his eyes were serious, steady, and full of intent. Maya, sensing the tension, hid behind Lena, peeking out curiously. I don't understand," Lena whispered. "You don't need to understand everything now," Dante replied. "I am offering you trust, partnership, and protection. You and Maya are not alone anymore. Not in this city, not in my world. Will you accept?" Lena looked down at Maya. Her daughter's eyes were wide, filled with curiosity and trust. Lena realized that this man, who had entered their lives so suddenly, had given them something more valuable than power or wealth. He had given them hope and security, a chance at a life free from constant fear. Taking a deep breath, Lena nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I accept." Dante's face softened, a small smile forming. "Good. You have made the right choice. I will always protect you. Always." From that moment, Lena felt a shift within herself. The fear that had haunted her for years began to ease. She wasn't alone anymore. Dante, despite his dangerous world, had shown her that trust, respect, and courage could exist even in the darkest corners of the city. Over the next few days, Dante helped Lena settle into a more permanent living arrangement, providing not just safety but tools to manage her life with confidence. Lena learned to navigate his world carefully, understanding the balance between caution and courage. She trained subtly, practiced awareness, and began to feel a sense of control she had never known. Maya, too, began to thrive. She felt safe in Dante's presence, laughing more, exploring more, and slowly realizing that life could hold joy, not just fear. Lena watched her daughter with gratitude, knowing that their lives had changed forever. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the towering skyscrapers, Lena and Dante walked through the quiet streets near their new home. The city was alive with lights, movement, and sound, but for the first time Lena felt calm. Dante walked beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. "You've changed," Dante said softly, glancing at her. "Not just surviving, but thriving," Lena smiled faintly. "I had help." Dante's dark eyes met hers. "You did it yourself. I only gave you a chance. Courage and strength come from within." Lena nodded, feeling the truth of his words. She realized that trust, when earned and given wisely, could create bonds stronger than fear, stronger than danger. She looked at Dante, the man who had transformed their lives, and knew that together they could face anything. That night, Lena tucked Maya into bed, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She looked out the window at the glowing city, thinking of Dante and the promise he had made. They were not alone anymore, and perhaps for the first time in her life, Lena truly believed in the future. Dante stood silently by the doorway, watching the two of them. A faint smile touched his lips. He had promised protection, and he would keep it. But more than that, he had discovered someone remarkable. A woman brave enough to face the city, strong enough to protect her child, and wise enough to trust when trust mattered most.